pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A roll call: John Matthews. Here. Terry Bartkowski.
Here, sir.
Mark Danny.
Present.
Alex DeMauro. Wolf Smith's absent. Rocky Hempel.
Present.
Jeanette Holdeman.
Here.
Jeff Spink.
Here.
And I'm present. Steve Rosenthal. I have 8 members present. Do I have a motion? We have minutes? Yeah.
We have two
We have
sets.
2 sets of minutes.
Yep.
We need to do them separately, or can we do
You
them
only
both?
have one set of minutes in your packet, right?
No, this is both of them.
There's 2. Can we do it in one motion?
We'll do
2 motions? Okay. So the first one is, we'll have to do the
September 11th.
September 11th.
September 11th. Do I have a motion on the September 11th minutes?
I will make a motion that we accept the minutes from September 11th, 2019.
I made a correction on it,
I missed the last one.
on,
Yeah, that was here.
okay, well, let's have a second first, and we'll get into discussion. So Jeanette made the motion,
I'll second it.
and Rocky second. I think it was on one vote count, the one I abstained on, I think.
I fixed that.
You fixed that? Okay, all right. And I don't think there was anything else, was there? I think that was the only thing I saw. But if it's fixed, then we don't have to bring it, okay? And any other discussion on that? We have a motion on the floor to approve the September 11th minutes. Have a roll call vote. John Matthews?
Yes.
Terry Bartkowski?
I abstain, I wasn't here.
Mark Danny?
Yes.
Alex DeMauro?
Yes.
Rocky Hempel?
Yes.
Jeanette Holderman?
Yes.
Jeff Speen?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 7 to 1 abstain. Okay, then it's, what date was the other one?
25th.
September 25th.
Okay. We have a motion on the minutes for September 25th.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes of September 25th with, I'm not even sure why it's in there, but there's, it says motion passed 8-0 under staff present. That could probably just be struck, I'm guessing. So with that change, I would vote that we approve the minutes.
What was the change? I'm sorry.
It says motion passed 8-0 after staff present, and I don't think that should be there. I think it's just a typo.
Yeah.
Plus, there was only 6 people here, but.
Right.
Second. Second.
Motion on the floor with the second to approve the September 25th minutes. With that one change. Is there any further discussion? John, roll call vote. John Matthews?
Yes.
Terry Bartkowski?
Yes.
Mark Danny?
Yes.
Alex DeMauro?
Abstain.
Rocky Hempel?
Yes.
Jeanette Holdeman?
Abstain.
Jeff Spink?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2 abstain. Okay, Secretary's report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I just want to point out that we have one item on the consent agenda, so approve the agenda will be approved on the consent. That's all I have.
Okay. And we're ready for approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the agenda as printed. Second.
Who seconded? Motion on the floor is second to approve the agenda, and that is the one item recognizing the one item is on the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Have a roll call vote. John Matthews?
Yes.
Terry Bukowski?
Yes.
Mark Danny?
Yes.
Alex DeMauro?
Yes.
Bucky Himpel?
Yes.
Jeanette Holdeman?
Yes.
Jeff Spink?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 8-0. Okay. Any declarations? No, we're going to go on to our first case. Case number DEV 19-096, consideration of an application for a special use permit for a dog kennel and boarding facilities. Country View Kennel on a tract of land located in the southeast quarter, Section 11, Township 10 South, Range 22 East, at the 6 p.m. in Leavenworth County, Kansas. Request submitted by Michael Kernchek, all known as 23115 148th Street. This does require a public hearing. Staff report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This is case number BEV-19-096. This is a request for renewal of a special use permit that has been in operation for quite some time for a boarding kennel for dogs, obviously, Country View Kennel. The applicant has not requested any changes to the special use permit. The existing facilities are obviously, they're already there, there's already kennel, they're not requesting any additional changes whatsoever. Staff is supportive of the request, and the applicants are here. Answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Any questions, staff?
Have we received any letters for or against?
No, sir.
Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition will give your name and address each time you begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. The public comment portion is now open. Will the applicant please come forward? And I apologize if I mispronounced your name, sir.
That's all right.
Please state your name and address.
Michael Kermishek, 23115 148th Street, Leavenworth, Kansas.
Okay. Did you have anything to add?
No, not really. We've been in continuous operation for 23 years. To my knowledge, there's been no complaints.
All right. There's requirements are up on the screen up here. Have you reviewed all of them? I don't know how many there is. It only shows us.
Yes, I have reviewed them.
Okay. Have any questions on it? There's 14 of them.
Yes, sir.
Have any questions? No questions on it? Okay. All right. Any questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will now hear from those individuals present wishing to speak in favor of this request. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this request? We will now hear from individuals present wishing to speak in opposition to this request. In opposition to this request. Is there any additional information to be presented? The public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any questions or comments, Commissioners? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I just have one question for staff, and it's just kind of a procedural one on the sign. On number 10, it says all signage shall comply with Article 25 of the sign regulations, and I noticed their sign is 48 by 48. Is that, it seems like a fairly big
I believe
sign.
the sign that was permitted was a 4x8 sign. And that was permitted with the last special use permit.
Okay, so it's good to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bigger size can be approved with the special use. It's part of the.
It's part of that, okay.
Okay. Any Any other questions or comments? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the proposed special use permit as outlined in case DEV 19089/091, that's the wrong one, I'm sorry. DEV 19096, HP County View Kennel Renewal, be approved that the findings of golden factors are set forth in the staff report and it's substantiated by the facts, testimony, and evidence presented, be adopted by the board, and that the conditions set forth in the staff report be made part of this special use permit. That's a mouthful.
Very good. Very good. And John Matthews, second.
I'm just going to make a report.
Hey, we have a motion on the floor with a second to approve case number DEV 19-096, special use permit for dog kennel and boarding facilities for Country View Kennel with staff recommendations 1 through 14. Is there any further discussion? Now we have a roll call vote. John Matthews.
Yes.
Terry Bonkowski.
Yes.
Mark Denny.
Yes.
Alex DeMauro.
Yes.
Rocky Hempel.
Yes.
Jeanette Holdeman.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 8-0. The Board of Counties Commissioners will consider this item October 30th, 2019 at 9 a.m. in the Leavenworth County Courthouse. Don't I have to read the last paragraph too about a protest petition?
Yes.
It's not on here.
Anyone wishing to file a valid protest petition?
What?
Is it just anyone wishing to file a
If anyone's wishing to file a protest petition, 2 weeks after this, has to be done within 2 weeks after this meeting and signed by 20% of the land area in the notification area.
yes?
Okay, I got it? All right. Thank you, sir. October 30th, 9 a.m., same place. It's not on any of them.
I know, I'm writing it out for you.
Should know it by heart now. Case number DEV 19-101, consideration application rezone a parcel of land from I-3 heavy industrial land to rural residential RR5 land use on a tract of land in the northwest quarter, section 18, township 12 south, range 21 east of the 6 p.m. in Leavenworth County. Request submitted by Beverly Davis, also known as 12815 189th Street. This does require a public hearing. Staff report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This is case number DEV-19-101. It's a rezoning request from I-3 heavy industrial to rural residential 5. This particular piece of property has had a home on it for several decades. It is located near heavy industrial zoning. However, that's not what it's used for. It is a rural residence. The adjoining properties are also rural residential. I think maybe in the 1960s, it was just, look both the map. The applicant had requested that we amend this so that it would appropriately reflect the use on the property. So staff is supportive of that request. I will go through the bulleted factors quickly. Character of the neighborhood, again, character of the neighborhood all around this particular parcel is rural residential. Zoning and uses of nearby properties, again, they're all zoned rural residential. To the south, there is industrial zoning, however, to the north is residential. Suitability of the property for the use to which has been restricted. It's currently zoned as I-3, which does not allow for a rural residential home on it, so it is not well suited for the current zoning. It will be better suited for the rezoning. The extent to which removal of the restrictions will detrimentally affect nearby property. Nearby property is not likely to be detrimentally affected. Again, this is to allow a rural residential, which is the same use throughout this entire area. Length of time the property has been vacant is zoned, it is not vacant. Relative gain to economic development, public health, safety, and welfare. The proposed rezoning will provide assurance to the property owner in the event that something were to happen to the home, that it can be rebuilt under the rural residential zoning district. Conformance to the comprehensive plan. The future land map indicates this area is low-density residential, and staff recommendations for the approval of this request. This is a public hearing item. Like I said, staff recommends approval. The applicant is here. Any questions you may have? I believe.
I have a question. By being zone I3, has that negatively impacted her personal property taxes on what is just a residence?
No. As Mr. Weber has described before, you get taxed on the property for what the property is used for. It's been used as a rural residence.
If most of the properties around there have been rezoned rural residential, is that what you said?
Yeah, so everything to the north, like just across the street is rural residential.
That's not
Typically-
That's original zone.
Typically, areas along the river bottoms, floodplain or zoned as heavy industrial,
Yeah.
which there is certainly floodplain throughout there. And there is, like I said, there is some heavy industrial zoning south of this particular property. This property is not completely covered in floodplain or anything like that. And again, there's been a home there for a very long time.
Is that just on the bottom of what is rural residential right now, or what?
What?
It's heavy industry right now.
Right, yes, yes. So this is the very south portion of what would be rural residential.
The question is, why not just rezone that all industrial there if it's not going to be used as heavy industry?
Because she's living there. You got a
They
personal
live there.
residence on the land.
I know that. They're wanting it residential.
But they don't want it to be.
We probably will
zoned
hear, we
industrial.
probably will hear it all as they do it, because the neighbors are all.
Yeah, there are a couple down there.
Yeah.
Actually, the parcel just to the north of this one is in the same boat.
Yeah, we'll probably hear them too at some point in time. Yeah.
That would just be an automatic do it.
Well, nothing
Guess
can
you
be
can't do
automatic.
that. Yeah, I
We have to
guess
go
not.
through the factors.
Yeah, I got it.
Any questions of staff before we go on?
How much of the two industrial lots adjoining this property, how much are those lots in the floodplain?
The adjoining lots?
Yes, because on each side there is an industrial.
I can pull it up. I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, I thought it was on your map that you had up there,
I
actually.
mean, yeah, you can see that. I can't see it very well.
If you can see it. Whoops.
I really
No.
can't see it.
This is, and this one, so this one. The one that has the most, looks like to me. Well, the other one, I don't know, it might be have more, but there is some floodplain on
My
this one.
concern is if you put residential in the middle of two industrials, I don't want it to affect what the other property owners may want to do in the future.
I understand. Again, that property to the north, I believe that the property owner has reached out. And again, that's the same situation as this property we're talking about here. It's been used as a rural residence for many years. And maybe requesting it to rural residents.
Well, it is their residence now. You know, there is some,
That don't bother me as far
There
as
is
the
some-
residents being there now. My concern is the adjoining property.
Yeah,
What if
both
somebody
sides.
says, I want to put industrial in there? I don't want a property owner in the middle that says, I'm going to protest the two sides.
well, but
They could protest it now, though.
they.
Yeah, but we're creating that by changing I-3 in the middle of the pot.
Well, but it's being used as residential.
Well, I understand.
and-
Yeah, I understand it's
and
used.
There's a problem here if they
Yeah.
leave it industrial for them, if something should happen to the
Insurance.
residents.
Yeah, can't read
Sure.
mine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and building back, if
Yeah.
if I'm correct on that. Yeah.
Chairman, members of the commission, Commissioner Barkowski had some comments about what if an adjoining property owner in a similar situation comes forward. In all likelihood, you make a consistent finding with respect to that. At the same time, if this area, the zoning of it should not be I-3, it should be rural residential, the county can initiate that.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. The county is initiating this, the property owner has requested it. So if something happens to that house, then they won't be able to build it back.
Right.
So this area, I don't think it's going to be industrial. So yeah, that's why staff is supporting this, the down zone. So it's a good thing.
And I would like to see the county go ahead, if they're not gonna do that, continue it on and take both sides and make them residential.
Definitely, we'll contact the property owners and we'll let you know.
That was my point, right,
That's-
exactly. Was that rural residential at one time and then was declared industrial, or has this just been industrial forever?
Back in 1962, when they did the zoning map, they took all the floodplain areas, they zoned it as industrial. So there were houses on some of the parcels, so that's what we are seeing.
Are there houses on both sides of these properties, or is one of them vacant?
I can see one house there.
Oh, here we go.
So the next one's vacant, it just looks like farmland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing on that one, but there's
Is
actually on that
the
one.
one that has 13 on it, is that same zoning?
Let me pull up the here.
I mean, I'm just curious now that we're talking about it.
Mhm.
The whole area, isn't it?
Right, and then you can see just to
So all
the
the
east
purple
there
then floods up?
is rural residential,
So-
and then again across the street is rural residential.
Mhm.
2.5, yeah. You know, it's possible, you say about rezoning at all, maybe some of them don't want it rezoned, they're just using it for farming, and they're figuring that having rezoned as
I don't think,
industrial might be a benefit down the road someday.
I don't think north of those railroads should be industrial, it should be residential.
Yeah, Linwood falls into what would have been industrial.
Oh, yeah.
It makes sense.
We just
south
were
of
looking at the
tracks,
floodplain, we
but
weren't looking
not
at
the
the.
north part. Should be residential.
There's your floodplain.
Yeah.
So a lot of that is in the floodplain.
Mhm. This one less than these guys down here.
Okay, any other questions on that? Okay, I'm going to open it up. Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition will give your name and address each time you get to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. The public comment portion of this hearing is now open. Does the applicant wish to speak? Okay. All right, you don't have anything to add? Okay. All right. We will now hear from individuals present wishing to speak in favor of this request. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this request? Now hear from individuals present wishing to speak in opposition to this request. In opposition. Is there any additional information to be presented?
One more thing, Mr. Chairman, the comprehensive plan shows this area as low density residential.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. The Public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any questions or comments, commissioners? Or I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the proposed rezone as outlined in case, make sure I got the right one this time, DEV 19-101, rezone from I-3 to rural route, or rural RR-5. Be approved that the findings on the golden factors are set forth in the staff report and as substantiated by the facts, testimony, and evidence presented be adopted by this board, and that the conditions set forth by the staff report be made part of this rezoning.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor with a second to approve case number DEV 19-0101, rezone of a parcel from I-3 heavy industrial to R5 land use. Staff, well, there's no staff recommendations, is there? Just the golden criteria. Is there any further discussion? Have a roll call vote. John Matthews.
Yes.
Terry Balkowski.
Yes.
Mark Danny.
Yes.
Alex DeMauro.
Yes.
Rocky Hempel.
Yes.
Jeanette Holdeman.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 8-0. The Board of County Commissioners will consider this item on October 30th, 9 a.m. in the Leavenworth County Courthouse. Anyone wishing to file a protest petition must be filed with Leavenworth County within 2 weeks of this meeting. To be validated, protest petitions must be signed by owners of 20% in the land area and the notification area. Good luck to you, ma'am, and October 30th, right here at 9 a.m. in the morning, the county commissioners will hear this. Okay?
Right back here.
Yes, same place. Okay, we are adjourning the Board of Planning Commission, and we need to get down to 7. Anybody wishing to? We have one too many.
I'll go.
Want to go?
Yep.
Okay. Board of Zoning Appeals will come to order. Have a roll call vote. John Matthews.
Here.
Terry Bukowski.
Here.
Mark Denny.
Present.
Alex DeMauro.
Here.
Rocky Hempel.
Here.
Jeff Spink.
Here.
And I'm here. That's 7 members. Okay. And it is case number DEV 19-097, consideration application for a variance for road frontage and minimum lot size on a tract of land located in the southeast quarter of section 10, Township 11 South, Range 21 East, 6 p.m., Leavenworth County, Kansas. Request submitted by Joe Herring on behalf of Tony Simovitz, I hope I see that right, also known as 16834 182nd Street. Does require a public hearing. Also remember, it doesn't go back to the commissioners. We are the final vote on this today. So, staff report.
Mr. Chairman, this is case number DED-191-097, a variance request for minimum required road frontage and minimum lot size. The address of this parcel is actually 20882 Cottage Road. Just making sure that is on the record. A home has been located in this location since at least 1966. The current parcel was established by deed in 1994. The parcel was not in compliance with the zoning and subdivision regulations at the time of establishment. In 2005, a letter was written from the Planning and Zoning Department. It stated the parcel had not been established according to the regulations, but incorrectly stated that the amnesty rule applied, and the parcel is therefore compliant and entitled to building permits. The reason that is important is in 2017, the Board of County Commissioners adopted a resolution which handled situations just like this, where letters were incorrectly written or issued regarding a parcel. The property is not in compliance with the zoning and subdivision regulations. However, the resolution stated that it should be subject to a variance in cases where the golden factors could be met. I'll go through the golden factors, the factors to be considered. The variance requested arises from such condition which is unique and which is not ordinarily found. Again, this parcel was created by deed in 1994. The current property owners purchased the home and a tract of land after the tract has been established. The granting of the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners. Again, it's being used, it has always been used as a rural residential property, it will continue to be used as a rural residential property. The property owner is actually in the process of rebuilding a dilapidated home to make it significantly better than what was there. The strict application of the provisions of the zoning regulations of which the variance is requested will constitute unnecessary hardship upon the property owner. In the event that the variance were not granted, then if something were to happen to the home, of course, the property owner would not be able to rebuild it, which would be a significant hardship on that property owner. The variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience. Again, this is a request to just continue to use that parcel as a rural residential. Granting this is not likely to impact the moral health, safety, welfare of the general area. And granting the variance desired will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of zoning regulations. Once again, a rural residential parcel in a rural residential area is definitely meets the spirit of the zoning and subdivision regulations. With that, staff approves this request. It is a public hearing item. I believe the applicant is here and will answer your questions.
Okay. Any questions?
Is this basically, you're just asking for this to just be grandfathered in because it had been approved prior, maybe in Crusher or whatever?
Sort of. So it allowed non-compliant is what we would actually call it, right?
Okay.
But yes, and that is essentially what the previous letter had stated. Again, that was not, the amnesty rule that they talked about said that the property had to be in compliance at the time that it was created. It wasn't in compliance at the time that it was created. It would have needed 2.5 acres and 200 feet of road frontage. It doesn't have either one of those. However, a building permit was issued on it, and again, a letter stating that it wasn't allowed non-compliant parcel was issued.
Got it.
So, yes.
Thank you.
Remedy the situation.
Any other questions? Okay. Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item, upon recognition, will give your name and address, time to begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. The public comment portion of this hearing is now open. Will the applicant please come forward? You are forward.
Joe Herring, Herring Surveying, 315 North Fifth Street. Good evening, Commissioner. Here to answer any questions. Basically, just really wanted to come up here and for once say, I agree with staff. They did a great job on this.
Is that his first?
On record.
Put that in the minutes.
Put that on.
Would you ask this gentleman for some ID?
It's an early Christmas present.
Any questions?
I don't think so. I don't think we have any.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to come up with something, but I just, nothing there. We will, well, yeah, I'm going to open it up here in a second. We will hear from those individuals present wishing to speak in favor of this request. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this request? We will now hear from individuals present wishing to speak in opposition to this request. In opposition. Think that's you?
Yeah.
Okay, name and address, please.
My name is Stacy Myers. My address is 20910 Evans Road. I live directly west to this property. And my concern is the letter of parcel written in 2018, I believe. You probably have that on record.
Yeah, there was a status of parcel letter that indicated it was not a parcel, but it was subject to the resolution.
Okay.
It's the way the law was written, the rules were written for a reason, and they haven't been followed. Now, if someone were to apply for variance and wait for an answer, that would be one thing. But the way it was approached was go in, tear it down, build a huge house on this little bitty piece of property. I don't even believe the septic is in compliance. I believe it's in the flood zone and may have been grandfathered in.
Septics
But
can't be in the stuff,
the,
no.
the rules are there for a reason, and I just would like to see them followed.
I have a question for
They
you.
are following the rules.
Excuse me?
They are following the rules.
They have followed the rules? Okay.
The house is built. The other house was torn down. If the rules state that's okay, they're following it, but I'm pretty sure this letter of status.
The status of parcel letter was issued and said the parcel was not compliant, not entitled to building permits. However, there is a provision in our zoning and subdivision regulations for a minor permit. A minor permit allows an existing home to be remodeled or repaired as long as it doesn't exceed 50% of either value or the square footage. Building permit was pulled, a minor building permit was pulled. The county appraiser's office determined that the repairs were substantial in nature and that it was indeed over 50%. Therefore, it was considered to be a new structure. There have been multiple conversations with the property owner previously that they really should get a variance anyway, because if the house were to burn down, then we would have to go through this whole process while you have a home that's been burned down, and that's the last thing you want to do is have to go through the variance process. The property owner felt that they had stayed within the requirements of the minor permit. Again, the county appraiser's office went out and took a look at it, in their determination that it was a new build. Therefore, they came in and they asked for a variance. Again, it is still subject to the resolution from 2017.
So technically, she's right, because they did prove it more than 50%, correct?
They tore the whole one down.
You told the woman
There's not a splinter
That's
left.
that's what they're trying to come into compliance by applying for the variance. They're doing all the steps that we asked.
They're doing on the steps, but they did it in reverse, correct? Or am I missing something?
That's what the resolution says. I mean, it's kind of very confusing. Even though we grant them permits, they still have to get a variance. And that's what the property owner is doing.
Okay.
Is this, because of the limited size of this, there's always these right-of-ways for setback property line, for example, that would be crowding one of the other property lines? Is that within the,
garage is crowding the property line.
is it out of, what is the normal setback?
Well, that's an existing building. I don't think we can, building permit was issued a long time ago. So it's an existing building.
Okay,
But but did it then have to be in compliance with setbacks? You know, like I've got a 10-foot setbacks on my lot, for
Yeah, we have
example.
setbacks. Yeah.
Okay, is it in compliance with those setbacks?
It's a 15-foot setback. The house is rebuilt on the existing foundation, which is my understanding that was 15 feet. I have not been out there to measure it. That is not something that we do. We don't have building codes, as you are all very aware. They submitted site plans, and we compare it to the mapping system. But again, the existing foundation was used.
So the foundation for the house has not been expanded,
Yes, it has.
so it could be out of the setbacks.
It's fine setback wise.
well, I know a surveyor might be able to give us.
Oh, it is
that
within the
answer.
setbacks.
The garage that's already existing
Mhm.
is not within regulation. The new house they built should be.
There was an old garage that is not. Is it gone?
No.
Okay. Is that your problem, getting rid of the garage?
My problem is just that the rules haven't been followed, and they're there for a reason. We have another neighbor that applied for a building permit for a barn and was told it's out of regulation, they can't do it. There's another neighbor across the road whose house is very much like this situation. It's too small of a lot, and it doesn't have the road frontage, and the house is basically falling down. So when they come in and apply for one, they're gonna be turned down too, unless they go apply for a variance. So I guess I'm asking, why are the rules there if you're gonna approve someone to basically tear down the existing structure and rebuild another?
I thought when they tore it down and rebuilt, they had to build it then to code, or well, to setbacks they have to move it to.
And again, it has been, and the issue here was the building permit that was issued as a minor permit. And the indication from the property owner was that it was going to be within the limits of the minor permit. Neighbor called and raised some concerns about whether or not that was actually being followed. And code enforcement officer went out, took a look at it, and said, hey, this looks like maybe it's something more substantial than a minor permit would be. So she and the county appraiser, or one of the appraisers went out, sorry, not Mr. Weber, but one of the appraisers went out, took a look at it, and the appraiser said, yes, we would consider this to be a new structure. Again, because we don't have building codes, we don't have any way of knowing whether or not that, is happening. But again, this is a rural residence. The property owner is rebuilding an existing home that was dilapidated and was in great disrepair and is rebuilding a single-family residence. The home meets the setbacks, and the variance is in place for situations just like this where there's something that is unique and not ordinarily found. The property owner across the street, if they came into our apartment and said, I have this situation, we would explore all of the available opportunities to remedy the situation, just like with anybody else.
Was this house being lived in?
It had sat vacant for about 6 to 8 months.
Just 6 to 8. Okay. How many acres is that?
I think it's 1.3.
Shows plus or minus 1.8.
Here's another.
So let me get this right. When they came in for the building permit, they did not tell you that they were tearing down the old house and building a new one at the same spot, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it wasn't quite done the way it should have been done.
Joe Scutson.
All right, well, we'll get back, we'll bring it back up.
I'd like to express what we've dealt with in the past with the last owners. On 1.3 or 1.4 acres, the front of the land is floodplain, and the house sits basically in the middle of the property. So approximately a half an acre on the north side of the house had 12 goats, 3 horses, at least 3 dogs, 4 dogs, and it's right next to our driveway. And when I say right next, I mean like 5 feet. So it became quite obnoxious, and I don't know that anyone can guarantee that won't happen again. And when I say obnoxious, I mean we're driving up the driveway and the kids look out the window and say, oh, that goat's dead with its head in the fence, because it sticks its head through the fence and eats all of our bushes, and then it breaks its neck. Just an example of what we've dealt with in the past. And I would really prefer not to have to deal with that again. But again, the rules are there for a reason. If it were a larger piece of property, if it had more road frontage, they wouldn't be right next to us.
That's why it's a non-compliant parcel.
Exactly.
Okay.
I believe the last owners applied to have wanted to build further up on the property where it would have made more sense. It's wider, and it was rejected.
So are you basically trying to, are you okay with it if there was some kind of resolution to make it okay?
I don't know that there is a resolution to make it okay. It was never supposed to be there, and then when the house became unlivable, the family, well, that was years ago, and the family continued to live in it. Then there was a divorce. It probably just needed to be torn down. It was grandfathered in, and the only way to make it even somewhat right would just be tear it down. I mean, it's an acre. The house on it was not livable, and anyone that went and saw it when it was open knows that. The septic system is in the floodplain as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it is.
We're gonna find out here in a
There's been
bit.
drainage issues for years. The way it runs, the water runs down the hill and washes everything away from the driveway, our driveway.
I did drive by and look at it. I've seen it organized.
Yeah.
What happens if it was like a no? You don't just tear down the house, do you?
Well, you know, buildable lot.
Well, the house is there, but they just couldn't, if anything happens to the house, they probably couldn't get a building permit. That would be it. Was the property for sale or something?
It was for sale.
Okay, did you look into buying it so nobody could live there?
We did, and we received a letter that said we couldn't build on it. You could add to the existing place, but you couldn't add more than 50% of it, and I believe it was 50% of the size of the house, but also doesn't 50% of the original house have to remain? It wasn't feasible. We put in a bid to demolish it.
Yeah.
But they wanted to sell it as a livable house.
Yeah.
It probably would have been condemned if.
Is there a house now being built
There's a brand new house
Yeah,
that's been
they already
built.
built the house.
that has been built?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we don't agree with the variance, the house has to be tore down or what?
No,
They just don't get the variance.
Something happens to the house that,
yeah. That's not gonna change. The house can stay, it just,
So the existing situation remains the same, and else the house burns down, then it's got to be within the. So if we disapprove the variance, it's Mike's next.
any other questions of this lady, and we'll let her go, and we'll ask anybody else to come up. You have anything to add, ma'am? Okay. Is there anybody else, individuals present wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this request, in opposition? Is there additional information to be presented? The public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any comments or questions, commissioners?
Yes.
This is kind of in your backyard, your UGA, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
really close to Tongue.
We're the closest.
What are your comments on this? It's up to-
I want to
You're
hear
gonna
from,
inherit it.
I want to hear from Joe again.
Yeah. I do
Joe, would you
too.
like to come up?
Joe.
You were wanting to come up and make a comment?
Thank you. Just wanted to get a little more clarification on the permitting process, that my client did purchase a minor permit, and intent was to build the structure and keep it and remodel it. During the remodel process, it was determined that was unfeasible. It was termite infested, tore down the walls, continued to build. Once the county did come out, they got a complaint. They issued a cease and desist order. I believe that was in May. He has stopped building since then. He has been waiting to get to this point so he can finish the house. What is that, 5 months, 6 months, something like that? So he has followed the rules that he has been directed to by staff to get to this point. I can't answer for anything prior to the previous owners. But, you know.
How
we have
about setbacks? That was brought up, you know.
My understanding, the setbacks of the structure are within the regulations. The existing garage, he has not touched.
Okay.
That's still there, and if it's compliant or not, I don't have knowledge of that.
Well, it would have been existing anyway,
It's
so it
existing,
was,
he is rebuilt on the existing foundation. It
okay.
is not 50% larger than the original house, although, of course, when you tear down all the walls and rebuild, it's
Yeah.
going to be of more value.
Right.
The-
How about the septic system, is that in?
The septic system was redone, I can't remember, didn't get the exact time, but it was done recently,
Okay,
replaced.
all
So
right,
whether or not
2001, 2002.
2001, 2002, so
okay,
whether it's in the floodplain or not, I'm not aware of that.
okay. All right.
I'm here on the resolution of 2018-2 that it was given a billable letter to the amnesty, and that resolution states, although it may have been incorrect, the property is built. And that's what we're here asking for.
Yeah, well,
So, I appreciate your time, let me come back up and talk.
any questions?
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yes. It appears to me that one of the problems is the concern about having goats run around and whatever else. Can there be a condition put in to allow the variance with, yeah, there was a goats issue, I
I
thought.
don't think so.
Was there a goat issue? You said something about goats running around?
Well, probably, maybe not on this owner, it was a previous owner.
Oh.
Yeah, David?
Commissioner Barkowski, you raised an interesting comment on, Commissioner Rowe. Tear down a house that doesn't meet county regulations. I've never, well, we've attempted to do so in the past, and quite frankly, it's very difficult to do. In the event that this property were to become a public nuisance, I am more than first to take the matter into codes court to try to get a quick remedy for the property owners. So I know that Mr. Simonowicz's president of the room, and hopefully has heard the concerns of his neighbors. In other words, if it becomes a public nuisance, they can bring it to the county's attention. The county has the right to seek legal redress.
So there's no need to put any conditions in that would limit animals?
Variance generally simply says yea or nay on ability with respect to regulation. Although Kansas favors agriculture, we cannot regulate agriculture. There's a difference between agriculture and pets. We regulate the number of dogs people keep. Recreational use of animals, even if they are livestock, doesn't meet agricultural exemptions, and we could take steps to address any need if it arises in the future. I'm perhaps hopeful that it will not.
I think this is a good example why we need to make sure our zoning is here to.
But the bottom
Not very,
bottom line, if we don't approve the variance, it just keeps another house from being built on that property and having the same issue.
well, it won't stop this house, it'll stop the next
Yes,
house.
that if that house burned down, no one could buy that property again and build a house on it.
If you don't approve this variance, he's on a cease and desist order. The house is not finished. What would that do to him? He's just out of luck and can't finish the house that he was issued a permit for, and the resolution 2018-2 says it should be a buildable parcel.
Does it say it's a buildable parcel? Because I don't believe it does.
I don't know that staff, but
Yeah, the letter that was written in 2005 says that it's not a buildable, it's not a compliant parcel, however, it's entitled to building permits because of the amnesty.
And what does the letter written in 2017 say?
The letter in 2017 says it is not entitled to building permits, it is entitled to a minor permit, but it's also subject to the resolution from 2017, you're referencing that. But
that's why I remember this.
So we're living with the mistakes of the past, is what we're doing.
So if the variance is not approved, the homeowner that's building that right now is out of luck and cannot finish that house and live there. Yes, okay. Yeah, understand.
All right, any other questions of the ladies up here? Okay, Joe, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, are there any additional questions or comments, or I'll entertain a motion?
someone else make the motion.
Rocky, you getting ready to make a motion?
Huh?
Are you getting ready?
No. You can pick one, I'll second it. Trying to find which one, form I want to use.
You can do it.
Can I ask one more question, real quick?
Sure.
In the future, what will prevent something like this from happening?
The only thing that, your regulations are only worth how they're enforced. I have seen, personally, I've seen examples where houses were built too close to the road. Significantly too close to the road, without a building permit. Okay. Our option is, do we make them move the house? We've had homes that were 3 feet too close to the setback, and that's one thing. We've had homes that were built 40 feet from the edge of the road, which it's harsh to conceive that we would, by we having the county, that we exercise its government powers to tear down somebody's residence. But it is done in other jurisdictions and could be done in Leavenworth County. And it's unfortunate that some people choose to push the limits on the regulations. I'm not saying that is in this present case, but as far as preventing things like this in the future, it's just the fact that you have, how many people in your office do you have before? We have one codes enforcement officer, Leavenworth County. It's difficult for them to continually monitor everything that goes on in the county. And I'll just leave my comment at that. But it is incumbent upon staff, I mean, every county employee, they receive complaints about non-compliance, to timely look into it, try to put a stop to it before it gets to this stage.
Let me ask one question. If we would have had building codes, would have that been caught right away?
Unless we have inspections, not even the building codes.
Yeah, well, only if we have building codes with inspections.
Then you could check the footings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I think I will make a motion for case number DEV 19097, variance from our normal standings, but I move that the proposed variance, as outlined in case number 19097, be approved, that the findings of the golden factors, which I believe are the most important here, are set forth in the staff report and are substantiated by the facts, testimony, and evidence presented, be adopted by this board, and that the conditions set forth in the staff report be made part of the rezoning, or variance, excuse me. Is that the proper way for this particular motion?
I don't believe there are any conditions, and we'll tailor that for future use, but that would be an appropriate motion.
Second.
You did? Okay. Where do I have the sheet? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Oh, yeah, we have a motion and a second. And a second to approve case number DEV 19-097, the variance of road frontage for minimum lot size. Is there any further discussion? Have a roll call vote, and also remember, we are the last word on this, so our vote is,
I do have another question.
okay.
Somebody in here had said, I don't know who at what point, that obviously building, is it 50% bigger, not price-wise, but size-wise?
It's either or, isn't it?
Size, it's the footprint.
Yeah.
So
Size.
does actual price tax-wise have nothing to do with this?
No. You mean for tax purposes or
Yes.
something?
Well,
Right,
with
so
with a minor permit versus a building permit, why would the county appraiser be involved if it didn't?
Because there was a claim that the home had been completely rebuilt. Again, we issued a minor permit to make repairs, and the claim was that the home had been completely rebuilt. So the code enforcement officer went out there, took a look at it, and then consulted the county appraiser's office to help make a determination on, was this actually a new home, or was this just a remodel of what was existing there, so that we could make an appropriate determination. The county appraiser said this is a new home for all intents and purposes.
So other than the foundation, it's all brand.
Even the foundations.
Even the foundation. But the county will get more taxes off this new house, I assume.
That would be a question for the appraiser. I'm just
Yeah,
a
that'd
lowly
be a-
land use planner.
Yeah, that would be appraisal question.
Well, so it sounds like the intent was to then build a entirely new house. I mean, I know they did say they ran a termite dam and stuff, but what if they need to come back up here before just building? Like, I know in our city, you know, if I was to start redoing my home, I couldn't just keep on going, keep on building. I'd be shut down and no more fees.
Well, they were
Yeah,
shut.
that's what
Yeah, they
happened.
did shut it down.
Came to our attention that substantial changes being made. The county appraiser made a determination that it was indeed a new home. They were sent a cease and desist letter, which they did. They came and got an application for variance, which brought us here today.
Obviously, this wasn't done correctly. Now, why, if it was done not knowing or done on purpose, we are where we are. The house is well on its way, I gather, to being built, so the parcel is what the parcel is. I hope we have too many of those little lots out there, but that were done years ago. Mistakes are the past.
You know, I think all we can do right now is take a bad situation, like you said, we're stuck with a bad situation and try to make the best of it.
That's what we can do.
That's all we can do. We can't go back and change the past. And, you know, I will say this, were things done perfectly? No, but I mean, trying to look at intent, you know, they did cease and desist. They did desist.
Yeah.
They would have kept going and just said,
Yeah.
I don't care what you think, county, I'm still building my house.
Yeah.
To me, that's another story, but they
Right.
did stop.
All right, any other discussion? Ma'am, we've closed the public portion.
There's some, what you said about if they had ceased and desist. There was a letter that was sent that was not acknowledged, and it continued to be built.
Well-
Until they received the, you have to stop.
Okay, ma'am, we're just going to have to go on. We have a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Have a roll call vote of members present. John Matthews?
Yes.
And this is to approve, so we'll make sure everybody knows.
Yes.
Terry
The variance.
Terry Bukowski.
Yes.
Mark Denny.
Yes.
Alex Demaro.
Yes.
Rocky Hempel.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
And I'm going to vote yes, and I really don't like the way this went, but I don't know what we can do about it now. The mistakes were made in the past. They did carry 8-0. Is there anything else?
Just like subfloor down.
We are adjourned.